This is the Free Body Podcast, a podcast for every body. Join us as we share the body stories of folks from all walks of life and deep dive into how we can turn to movement, creativity, and connection to heal while navigating a wounded world.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram and subscribe to us on YouTube at Free Body Podcast. Please share us with a friend, rate, and review.
Thank you for being here.
I don't remember this. But I think that it's early in like family lore.
Yes.
Like it is real to me because everybody kept saying that it happened.
Yeah.
So, but I know that my, when I was born, my family lived in this, like they lived with, I think my mother's parents, and I do remember a bed, and then kind of like, you know, these rooms with like sealed concrete, you know, that style, like where it's like, like very, like very clean. And when I was a baby and like learning how to like, you know, roll and move and ambulate and all that stuff, there's a memory of me falling off or not a memory, like a shared memory by my family of me falling off the bed. And my dad would always say that like when he saw me rolling, he screamed, he goes, "Anak!" which means like, you know, like daughter or whatever and stuff. But that was like that for some reason, that story has followed my family around, like me falling off a bed when I was a baby, and that I think that also for some reason has stitched into a lot of like concussion things or like head impact things for me, like in my like cheerleading career in high school, like, you know, that is so I know doesn't make sense now that I'm dressed like a gender reveal party that like I've got like a bright pink.
I love that. I can't wait to learn. Okay, oh my god, there's so much to cover.
So like
cheerleading,
so like that was always like that, you know, like I have, and there weren't like very big, like there were falls, like that's like part of it, you know, like you're supposed to,
it's how you learn and, you know, figure out how to balance the stuff. You kind of have to fall, right?
You have to fall, that's what it is, just like straight up. And you know, like, and like me, say even like riding, I had a bike accident where I had flipped over the bike and hit my head. Basically it caused temporary amnesia. Like there's like a whole...
How old are you?
I must have been like 24.
Oh man.
So like there's this whole like thing now where I am actually quite careful, because I know that feeling of just being insecure about my memory or even myself. Like I remember like being in like a grocery aisle and just like kind of not knowing what kind of honey I wanted. It was like it was very emotional. Like you start weeping, like, is it like clover or like do I want raw? But only because I wasn't sure like if that is I just wasn't sure about my memory. And then even then, like performing things, like sometimes I'm just like, I actually feel like acutely aware of like where my head is in space or like things around it.
Proprioception.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Which makes sense because you kind of need that for what you do.
Yes.
Like that's,
Yes.
So
like,
important.
and that, you know, like at any point, you know, like that could be, I feel like that boxer thing where it's like, you know, you don't know when, but like that could be the one where that, you know, it impacts you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, oh gosh, that's a lot. That's like...
So that earliest thing I feel is connected to a lot of things.
It's rippled kind of out or been reflected or like almost like in a pattern has come back, it sounds like, in your life. And so how has your relationship to certain movement that you do that's maybe riskier, how has that shifted over time and your relationship to it? Like maybe starting when you were younger and then, take me through that journey a little bit.
Well, when I, like growing up, I don't come from a family of like athletic
Mm-hmm.
or outdoorsy
Yeah.
or like, you know, like active people. You know, like my parents are dorks. Like my whole family is like, we love law, or like, you know, like just like dorkhood.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up doing a lot of physical
Oh, really?
stuff. Like
Yeah.
I read a lot. I was
Mhm.
like, I daydreamed all the time. Do you remember daydreaming?
Yeah, all the time. All the time.
I just remember spacing out, like
Mhm.
loving spacing
Yeah.
out, just like looking at a ceiling. And I think that when I was in high school, did you ever like I don't know if you were like self-motivated in high school, but
I
like
was weirdly. Yeah.
oh God,
Again, like Virgo baby over here. I was like really into school. I loved school.
I just looked at what people were doing,
Yeah.
and if that made them cool or not.
Right.
And it felt like,
Yeah.
and you know, like I think like growing up, whatever, first generation, like I came to the States when I was a baby, which was fine, but I still, you know, like
Yeah.
the household, you don't know what's like cheerleading seemed cool to me, so I like tried
Right.
out.
Is that
and,
also the
like,
first like kind of movement that you started to do?
most
Since-
intense? Most intense. Like that was, and I we're like going back to a place that I'm like, wow, you're right, it did start there. But like it was the most intense, it was the most, I think, like fabulous, like very, it's so dramatic.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I was doing theater at the time
Yeah.
too.
Oh my
So
God.
I feel like, you know, you could do the thing where you make the face and like show how happy and excited you are.
Mhm.
And that you get a sense of attention for the things that, you know, like that aren't necessarily like emotional but expressive, like
Right.
highly expressive.
Absolutely.
All that like high energy, you know, like big
Yeah.
big movement kind of stuff. And I was small enough, so obviously I was a flyer.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, and that I was good at it.
That's amazing. Yeah, wait, so we back up for a second. Like, do you remember, well, I guess when did cheerleading start to come into your head? Was it right when you got to high school?
Yeah.
And before that, what did you think of cheerleading before high school?
I just wanted to do whatever my sister like be around, because she was more like I think she was into like journalism and
Mhm.
field hockey. God, what a guiding light sisters are. But and so I just wanted to be adjacent.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I couldn't do anything else. Like
That's
I
amazing, 'cause-
couldn't do anything else. What was I going to do? Like start swimming?
I mean, yeah, good point. I just think of cheerleading as such, like, especially the way it is now. Like, I just watched this documentary on cheerleading, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader
It's
documentary.
on the list. It's
Yeah.
on the list. It feels
It's
a
so
little-
intense.
It's so intense.
And it's like really hard and dangerous at times. And like, so it's a really big leap forward,
And that
pun intended.
But like in that, this is Northern Virginia, like the late 90s, you know, like early aughts.
Yeah.
And that
Abercrombie and Fitch.
like Abercrombie
Everywhere
and
you look.
Fitch. Yes.
Hollister.
Yes.
Paxson.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah, memories.
Totally. So
Yeah.
like there's like a very, you know, like that was like the bottom rung. I needed to get
Mhm.
a foot in
Mhm.
to some kind of socialization, some kind of like what were they called? Where you have something outside of extracurricular.
Oh,
I
yeah.
needed an
You need some
extracurricular.
Yes.
So that seemed like it was just
Wow.
like the
Yeah.
best option. And then like obviously like I'm a good girl. Like I want to do well.
Right.
So it felt very like it was easy and not easy enough, but like
But you picked it up, really. It seems like when you auditioned, did you do any prep or did you just go and you were just like, oh, I can do this?
I just went to like whatever 3-day camp they do for everyone. And I love that
I love that they do that.
They
Yeah.
yes, and that they're like they are actually because maybe it's not like this anymore, just like yoga. Like, you need to have a PhD to teach sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, don't you feel like there's like...
It keeps getting, harder and harder and more qualifications and requirements. And
totally.
Westernized qualifications.
I mean, like, it's pretty intense. And so, like, and I think that maybe that's kind of how I realized that's what it was getting to. But, you know, like, if you're a freshman in high school, fortunately, there are ways that you can kind of, like... you know, like, still participate. Thank goodness I got in. Like, I do think that was a bit of a lifesaver in the most depressing time of, like, in, like, a teenagerhood.
Yeah, for sure. It's built in community often, right? Like, did you feel like when you were in there, what was the experience once you were, like, a cheerleader, and how did that transform everything?
I think I really was skeptical, and also, like, removed from the... I don't know what to call it, like that spirit culture where you're like, because some of them have done it for a really long time. That's a thing. Like, you're also in this mix of like young, like
pageanty people, probably some pageanty
energy. Yes. And maybe it had that like musical theater like feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I love it so much.
Yeah, it's really fun. I love the musical theater vibes, man. They're intense, but they are. It's like, there's this exuberance and dramatic, like, it's so fun.
It's so fun, and it is the same as, like, you know, like, will you make me a matcha and tell me my astrology and do musical theater for me, because I'm not going to do it myself. I'm not going to do it myself. I don't have this, I don't have it. So it feels nice to be like, you know, like, witness to that. And I felt that, you know, within cheerleading, but I also think that, like, it taught me how to be in this, like, girlhood that I didn't really know about. Like, it's a lot of my, like, personal, like, contact with, like, doing our hair, getting our makeup done, getting pumped, talking about, like, cute boys. Like, it's a girlhood. Yeah.
Community also.
Totally. I'm, like, digging deep. Because this is also stuff that I want to forget. But, like, you know, you're, like... It was, like, so, I don't know, like, high school was kind of rough, but, like, that was the place where I've never been thrown before in my life. I've never been caught before in my life. I've never been lifted and, like, balanced before in my life. I've never had to cooperate as much as I could in my life. Like, at that time, I was challenged in a way that I was like, this feels... I mean, like, impact is really hard to get as an adult.
Yeah.
Like, as an adult, to have this, like, kind of, you know, and I'm like...
Yeah.
Like, you know...
It's literally, like...
slapping myself.
Right.
But, like, I'm... Like, that is... I think that kind of... It woke me up. And in a way that felt exciting. And that, you know, now I'm, like, also... I do see it in, like, the things that I do, but I don't know, I'm just kind of, like, I'm so pleased that I'm, like, realizing that was maybe some of the first times that I felt that.
Yeah, and sometimes, right, and isn't that's so true, that, like, in life, there's these moments, and maybe we can go into this if you want to, but, like, what were the challenging elements that were happening at the same time while that journey was happening? Like, you sort of alluded to high school being difficult, right? But this was a part of it where you found some really important things. And so I'm wondering, how did those play together, and how did that affect you as you grew into an adult?
I mean, there are, like, is everybody loving high school?
You know, I will say, for me, I luckily went to an arts high school. Yeah. And thank God. I don't know what would have happened to me at a normal... I literally joke about this all the time. I've never once been to a football game. Like, never, ever. And don't really watch it. And it's never been a thing. It's fine. I respect it. You know, I'm into sports and athletes. I think it's amazing. And also, like, it's just never been a big part of my life. So... but there were still definitely, like, cliques at my high school, and I told myself for a long time that there weren't, because we were all artists, you know, we're all in this together, and I didn't feel like there was, like, a delineation or, like, sort of tribalism that would happen between departments, but there was a little bit, but not to the same extent that I hear from, like, other other schools.
Well, and that, like, don't you think that again, like, I was at the mercy of, like, television.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, tell me what is cool.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea. Like, I have no clue. Like, you know, when are my boobs coming in? Like, please let them come in. Like, the radio was hot at that time. Like, you know, this is like so pre-internet, but do you think that was like...
Yeah,
it was getting there. But...
It was getting there. Like, I think we had a computer in the 90s, but I don't remember when we got hooked up to the internet. Okay. Honestly. I remember, I feel like it was high school we started, because AIM...
Yes. Okay. AIM. There we go. Yes. Okay.
Remember AIM? Oh, what was your screen name? Do you remember?
Yes. It was fine, and then the number 1. Which
I think that's very cool.
Good. That's cool.
Very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. I
that's
like
cool.
that. I like that. I think mine was mine. I changed it all the time. Like, of course. I think mine was Gumby Daydreams at some point. That was like a phone, because I'm hypermobile and very flexible, and I loved green, so everyone called me Gumby.
Wow, that's like, and that was you.
And that's who I am.
That is
the core of me.
The screen name is exactly who you are now, forever.
It's great. It was like I titled myself before I even knew who I was. Yeah.
I like, thank goodness for teenage us. So, like, you know, like, I just didn't, who do you look up to at that time? So, like, I think I really did just want to fit in. Like, I did want to fit in. Like, this is I love my family, because, like, I ended up, you know, just kind of figuring things out and doing it. But they also had no idea what was going on. Like, they're like, did I know I was an artist? Did I know that I loved, like, performing and stuff? So,
what did they think about you doing cheerleading? Were they really into it?
Yeah, I think they were like, please, like, they weren't going to all the games or anything, but, like, thank goodness she's out of the house. Like,
yeah, friends.
Friends.
Yeah, friends.
I was a homecoming princess, which felt very like, I was like, thank you. I am in high school. Like, I get to be in the court. Like, there's just all this stuff that, like, felt very, admittedly, like, surface, because I had nothing else, you know, like,
and also, like, the biggest deal at the time, too, right?
Biggest deal.
Yeah.
Boobs.
Oh my God. Waiting for those boobs. When are they gonna come? And it's
really confusing.
Yeah.
So that said, like, I think it was, like, you know, like, all these, like, dark, confusing times. Like, I don't remember, again, like, you know, you were self-motivated. It sounded like you had things you wanted to do and accomplish in your life. But, like, I think that was a point where I was like, actually, what am I going to do outside of accomplishment, you know, like, outside of, like, getting good grades, outside of, like, feeling, you know, like, what is your sense of, you know, self, and, like, what are my own personal goals, like,
who do you want to be in the world that you're about to move into?
Who the heck?
Yeah.
Who the heck?
So where did you go first? Like, as you were exploring, like, who you were upon graduation?
Theater.
Yeah. It was theater. Because you mentioned you were doing theater during high school also.
Yeah.
And real quick, did you see that intersecting at all with cheerleading? Did they inform each other at all for you?
I think it made me stronger and, like,
confidence, maybe.
Confidence and like this, like, it did help me push myself, because I was doing things I didn't know I could do. I didn't know, you know, I could get tossed in the air. I didn't know that was, like...
And it starts so late. Like, I know so many people starting so young with movement.
Yes.
Like, it's kind of extraordinary. You had this just natural ability that you just happened to discover.
And that, like, it's cool to bring people into that. Like, as in, like, I don't know, even if I think about, like, could I do adult gymnastics? Right? You know, like, I'm like,
that would be so cool.
That would be so cool. But, like, also, like, I didn't know I could do that then. So, like, I didn't know what, so this idea that, like, I could do things I didn't know I could do. Like, if that's when I think that's when it started. So
It's really exciting.
and like helpful, like
Yeah.
for theater. Like
Yes.
I can do things I didn't know. I could be like as like gross as I wanted, or I could be as like, you know, funny as I wanted, or I could do I could be a leader,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
I think those things start to like come up too. And I could be, yeah, I don't know. I could.
That's the beautiful thing about theater. It really does show us that we're also capable of like the entire breadth of human experience, right?
Well, and
It's
then
all
that's
in
the
us.
job. And they're like, yes.
It's
And
like
so
so-
5, 6, 7, 8.
Show me.
Yeah, show me.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that the truth? So, did you apply for theater schools coming? Okay, so where did you end up going?
So I went to NYU. The 2 studios that I went to, ETW, and Experimental
ETW!
Theater U, Experimental Theater Wing, and then Playwrights Horizons Theater
didn't know-
School. It's like the first person that I think I met that was like, oh, you've done a movie already? You know what I mean? You're like picking your wedgie, like, and then like everybody is so talented and so like focused and so like connected too, like, you know, like an industry is water that you're swimming in, and I had no idea, you know, like, and I was just like, so I did my toe in, or like, what are we doing here? So
well, it seems like you cannonballed into the experimental theater wing.
yes.
Okay, so what was that? How was that? Oh my God, major transition too into New York City,
Oh my gosh,
and then you're an actor now. What was that like?
I got so sick.
You
I
got
was
sick.
My first year.
Tell me more.
My freshman year, it was like the winter of my freshman year, and when I look at my students now, I feel simultaneously protective of them, and then also just like let her rip, like enjoy your life.
Yeah. Now's the time.
Yeah, go get arrested for a protest. Like when's you know, like
when
when's a
else
good
are you
time? So I was enjoying New York. You know, like you're just actually like trying to see shows all the time.
You're in
like,
school.
You're in school. Right. Ooh, somebody's got like a house party. Ooh, like, you know, like, wow, like what's going on? Jean-Claude and Christo have an exhibit? Like, what?
Yeah.
You mean like you know, like there's just all this stuff that you constantly have to like, 1, write about for class.
Right.
And like 2, like it is quite interesting. And so I think I was just going too hard.
Yeah.
It was a shock to my sweet, perfect, fragile little body.
Yeah.
Because you're like in studio however many hours a day, you're in class. And then I had gotten...
I feel like everybody gets sick in your first year. Right?
That's what
At least first year. We were always sick.
And nobody knows. I'm eating cereal like for 3
Yep.
3 meals.
Cereal, ravioli, frozen ravioli with a jar of pasta sauce.
What are you going to do?
Ramen, obviously, you know. Yeah.
Except unless you're like that one roommate who's like, well, my mom taught me that, like how to make hummus. Like, I was not that. So I got sick like December of my freshman year. So like as soon as the semester ended, I had pneumonia.
Oh my God.
So there was fluid in my lungs. I had like a 108 fever. I had a blood clot. I had blood disease. I had like it was like serious in a way that I was like, why is this happening to me? But like
now, like
and I think I actually do think I had it was like a shock to my body and a flu that hit wrong. I totally just kept going.
You did. So you were sick, and then you kept working through the sickness when you came back?
I was sick. I was in the NYU hospital for like 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
This was happening, I think, around during the break. Because, you know, I couldn't go back to Virginia. Yeah. It's not like I was like, they weren't going to like move me around. It was serious enough that like my family was there, that like, you know, like I had to stay in the hospital. And then from what I remember, when I was released, what is it when you let people go?
Discharged?
Discharge.
I think.
Yes.
We
old
got it.
noggin.
We got it.
When I was discharged, I went straight back to my dorm, and I had to, I had several medications that I had to take constantly. I had to get my blood checked constantly. I had to get my lung capacity back. But I stayed in the school year, which I don't ever remember having the option to not, which
is crazy.
Well,
it sounds like it was that's crazy. Yeah.
And that, like, I didn't know any better. Like, that could have been something that I'm like, I don't know if I should. Like, but I absolutely, like, 18-year-old Nikki would not have known any better. Especially because, school is your career. And now your school is your passion. So I just kept going, and I didn't do well. I had a really hard time that semester. It was really, really hard. I think the rest of my college career was climbing back from that semester. But it also made me realize, like, oh, I can, it's kind of easy. All it takes is being present. All you have to do is go to class. Like theater is just about, like, showing up.
Yeah.
Like, all I have to do is outlive my enemies. Like, honestly.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Yeah. You just keep showing up. You don't give up. I hate saying, like, that language, but yeah.
Well, and that, like,
you persist. We persist.
You just persist. Like, everything happens in class. Like, everything happens in studio. Like, it was almost it. Like, yes, you have to do outside work, but, like, you're gonna get your chances of survival are higher if you are in that room.
Totally. So that you feel like that's what, I mean, as you said, there wasn't necessarily an option given to you, but for you, and, like, how through your perception of it, did it feel like I have to just show up and be in that room so that I don't fall behind? Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah.
Ish. Because I think if I were smarter, I would have been like, I have to take the semester off.
Yeah, but you're 18.
Yeah, totally. And I did, I have to say, like, if anything, rolling around on the ground, having speech and voice class, having people touch me, having people, like, despite me being like, this medication is, like, just causing, like, some kind of irritation on my skin. And then you have to explain to somebody what is going on, and they'll do it anyway.
Right.
Like, there's just stuff, or, like, a teacher being like, just so you know, like, be careful with her feet. Because, like, it's just been like she's just been horizontal for the past 2 or 3 weeks. And, like, I don't think everyone knew what was going on.
Okay.
I don't think everybody knew. I think people were like, wow, Nikki is such a party animal that she, like, is not coming to class.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, I think that was like I didn't know how to communicate with admin. I didn't know how to communicate with my teachers. I don't know, like, how to explain what happened to me. And that, I think, like, that was a whole just, like, re-education on another level. Like, if, like, and now I look at students and I think, like, it's reparative for me. It's reparative for me to work with young people who are trying to figure out how to be professionals in their life. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. Especially, like, the specific kind of life, too. It's a weird thing.
And it ends up being, like, kind of simple enough where it's like, well, just pretend I'm a human, pretend you're a human, and then let's see if we can
be human together. Yeah, exactly. Drama will ensue. Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
If we could just be, everything would be fine. But all this other shit gets in the way, And
that you're like, listen, this is time management. Yeah. Like, like, it's hard to, like, kind of tell somebody that, like, it's really important to budget your time, part of your day, to like, like going to bed.
Yeah. Especially before I think age 25. Like I didn't really understand how important sleep was until after that. Because your prefrontal cortex isn't done. No shade. It's just true.
And not like I didn't need it before, so why would I need it now?
Exactly. That sounds like really reparative.
I love it. I do. I really love it. Like I tell my students this, like, that like I'm looking for young mentors, right? Like this is, I've heard this somewhere. It's really been helpful to me that like, listen, I'm not up with what's going on all the time.
Yes.
And that like, obviously there's like a really like constant stream or like a revolving like door of information and etiquette, like etiquette. Yeah. Social etiquette, like internet etiquette, you know, that I'm not up on. I'm at your feet as your educator, as your instructor, and you know, I'm looking for somebody to help to usher me into this. Like I need your help.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm looking for somebody who can show me how this works. And I don't think, you know, I'm not like an elder.
Right. Not yet. We're not yet. We're not. Damn it.
Could I retire into the woods? I'm, you know, so like I'm really, I look to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we should, like, I feel like this with my students too, that and in the coaching I do, one of the big sort of, part of the ethos is I don't have all the answers. You actually have all the answers. Your body knows. I don't know your body. You are connected to your body. I'm connected to you in this space right now, but actually like everything that you have questions about, that's the wisdom is in you. And there's something so freeing about that. And I just want to be, you know, the container and the support for people to get deeper in touch with themselves, right?
Do you ever, no, I'm like, I'm thinking of one particular student who has CP. So he has cerebral palsy and that he's like in class and kicking ass. But he kept asking me like, can I do this? Do you mind if I do this? Like, does it work if I do this? And like, I felt so like, I was so embarrassed. I was like, I don't know if you can. I don't know. Like you, like, please, like you have to tell me. And that like, I don't know. That's just something that like sometimes runs in my head sometimes where I'm like, how can I be better supportive of this person? Or like, also, what am I a part of that this person thinks that I have, like, that I'm in charge of this?
Right. I think we're just culturally, so many of us are indoctrinated into believing that let me start by saying, I think we grow up just in many ways disconnected from our bodies and disconnected from our truth, a lot of people, right? And we look to others, like as children, to like help us figure out what's going on with me. And the greatest time that I realized this stuff was in me, like the first seed of that was definitely when I was younger, but it took many, many years for me to truly like understand, oh, actually I do know more than this teacher who's teaching me right now about my own specific body, right? Like teachers have lots of wisdom. We have a lot of things to offer, and there's a lot of, you know, we've studied it for years. We have a lot of experience we can draw on, but it's impossible for us to be inside of anybody else's body. So, and it's so empowering, I think, to people too when I keep telling my students, like, putting this question back on you. What do you think? How does it feel in your body? Where do you want to go? Like, what's happening for you? And like, if I'm directing or something, like maybe there's shaping there, but that's something we focus on so much in somatic work. Actually, it's like everyone has different shapings. Right. Everyone has different shapes. There's no shapes that are better or worse than any other shapes. And I think a lot of healing that needs to happen in multiple industries is really understanding that that is true, that you're not putting anything on anybody else's body, right? That like we need to be free to explore for ourselves what that looks like.
I'm so into creative minded people, like in like facilitating positions.
Me too.
I'm so into it.
Yeah.
Like
what do you like about it? What is it? Tell me more about that.
On soft skills alone.
Yeah.
Performers, directors, choreographers, dancers, puppeteers, like movers, actors can read a room.
Yeah. We study this stuff, like literally embody it, right?
Oh my God.
And we don't get enough credit.
I know.
As soon as I've been saying this a lot recently, that like once I understood, well, first of all, I didn't know what the word somatic meant all through. And I've been studying acting and movement since I was a child. Didn't know what somatic meant. And then once I was like, wait, what's that? Okay, so it's the body, the soma. Okay, well, what's the difference? Oh, emotion is somatic because it's an internal process and movement in the body. And like, what do we do as artists? And also when we're receiving art, what happens to us? I'm getting goosebumps. We're literally somatically moved when we watch things. Like when we say that piece moved me, that's literal. Yeah. Like stuff's actually moving around. When we say that stirred something up in me, that's literal. Things are stirring, like our language reflects this, right? And I think like actors, artists, people who are creative, like you're saying, to your point, that's what we're really training and studying. We just aren't using the language somatic, right? But that's actually what it is. And somatic work is when we stir up stuff in ourselves, that can stir up things that are in us that maybe certain teachers aren't necessarily able to handle, like just because there's not the kind of education around trauma and how that comes out in the body. And body workers and dancers, I think, understand this on a different level, right? That like, yeah, when you have certain movements or you touch somebody even in a certain way, like things move around and can come up. That's part of why I went into training for it, because I just wanted to be able to be ethical and like have a safe environment for that to be able to come up and move, right? Because I'm sure you've seen in theater school how it can have the opposite effect if you have a teacher that like really doesn't understand how trauma works.
Ethics and accountability. Can we get more?
Yeah. Can we have some more of that, please?
No, but I think that's like I feel similar.
Yeah.
Like that is what I think the looking for in training has been also. Like I definitely get that, like, okay, well, like if I want to continue doing this, then obviously I need some kind of guidance and feedback, because I'm not the only one doing it, and I'm not the only and there are career crushes in the world that I'm like, that I look to.
Yeah. So coming back to recovery, and maybe starting, so you said like over the next 3 more years, it was a 4-year, right?
Yeah.
Because it was undergrad.
Yeah.
So you just felt like you were kind of climbing back up.
Totally. It's so funny because I don't know, I just remember even like my senior year, like, or not my senior year, but like there were like some, there were moments where I had trouble climbing upstairs. Like again, my lung capacity was diminished, and that like I was climbing upstairs so I could go to like contact improv.
Oh my God. Woof.
I guess it just felt like, how am I gonna, like how, like if this is hard for me, how am I gonna come back? Yeah, and that graduation was really cool because I had done, thank goodness for theater schools. Like you get to practice like being an artist, and that I had gone to Bali for my study abroad, so don't be jealous. Oh
my God,
so
I'm so jealous.
Like that was my study abroad. I lived with this like 5 generations of puppeteers, and that like it was like dance and puppetry.
This was your last year.
This was yes, this was my last year. And then like when I came back, like I found like my friends from New School, Anton and Ritika, and I welded a boat together. Like we welded, like we were like, I went to NYU, but we used that like new school, like welding studio to weld this boat, this like really huge boat. And then took like old plastic bags and like wove it into the boat. So basically it was this like trash boat made of plastic bags that we rolled to all these public parks in New York. Wow. And then we used the sail. So like when the sun was setting, we used the sail to do this like shadow puppetry show.
Oh my God.
And that was like, you know, like that was the beginning of me studying puppetry. That was the beginning of me like creating or like participating in shows. Like, have you ever heard that where it's like part of devotion is participation?
Part of devotion is participation.
Yeah, like I have to be responsible for like some of the live theater that I want to see, some of like the object theater that I want to see. Like it's not just enough for me to be so critical all the time.
No, that's totally true. Yeah. You have to kind of get out there and do it. Otherwise, like, what do you know?
Well, and that like, I think it is, you know, like I could do things for other people. I love that. Like, please hire me. Please hire me. Like, I think that's
love being hired.
I love being hired.
Yeah.
Please.
And also it's fun to make your own things too.
If there's the space or if there's the support, like I think it's really important, not just because it helps me see the world. Like this is like, I mean, if we're talking about reparative, like you're responsible for that. I think it's really important as a theater maker to have some way to cultivate and some perspective and really ethical understanding of how you want the work to be created, because we are all ethically compromised. Let's not dance around that. Like there is no
one's perfect.
Nobody's perfect, and that we're all, you know,
we're
like
all learning.
We're all learning, and we're all
making mistakes.
Come on, let me
Part
say it
of life.
louder. Yeah,
make those mistakes.
Totally. Yeah. Like we're all like in like drinking the same water and like, you know, I like whatever, like using the same bath products or like, you know, there's just like all this stuff. Like I contribute to whatever fair hikes. I don't know. Like it's like, I'm like, I just want to be clear about that. Yeah. But there is something where I can be in charge of, like, let me carve out a little space so I can be in charge of something. And I feel that way about the body, not to say that I'm trying to dominate the body or anything. Like this, it is not a problem. It is not a project, but like, it is the way that I like experience the world in like ethical embodiment.
Tell me more about that. Yes. I love this direction. Let's please take me down ethical embodiment.
Yes. Or embodied ethical decision making. That's Lenore Harvey's like paper. So like embodied ethical decision making, and that like we experience the world through the body. Yes. Right. Like, and that like there's no
this is the podcast. Yes.
Like that is like, and so like, why not pay attention to that? Like when it comes to like making a decision, I think that when you know, like, and then I might like I don't know if I can like remember like the like research on this or anything, but like I do. But the me search, give me
the me search. That's what I want.
The like
Google it.
Yeah. Like, but it's there. Like if the decision making or if the conundrum is so difficult, I will sever myself from it. Like I will bring myself to a place where I don't have to have a sensation, a feeling, a behavior around it. I will do that. That's not a problem. Like if it becomes so difficult or unappealing, like I will sever myself from that. So
Can
like,
you give me an example of what you're talking about?
Okay. If I have to, if it's so, let's see, let me think. Okay, here's kind of like a daily one.
Okay.
Like I'm like, okay, should I get Cetaphil to like, should I get this thing to like, I want to clean my face.
Yes.
I want this product to clean my face.
Yeah.
I know my face needs this. I have eczema. And that like, I'm like, oh gosh, but like, say like, and I'm just using any old brand, right?
Yeah.
Like say like whatever, Johnson & Johnson. Oh no, like if I really thought about it, like there's like pain inflicted and associated with it. So I don't.
Right.
So you know what? I won't think about it.
Right.
So you know what? I just will hold this and I will just like say and think about how good it will make me feel and I will purchase it and never ever think about it again.
Yeah.
Like that and it's all theoretical. It's all like in my head and it's all in my imagination. But if I actually did, you know, like if I actually, and I don't want to think about it and I don't want to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. That might be like a smaller daily
No,
one.
I think that's helpful. Yeah.
Well, and then on a grand scheme, it's like, well, should we like, you know, like I don't know how it would feel to actually be like, well, let's cut funding for like, you know, this like arts program, or let's just make farming even harder for people. You know, like if you actually sat with that decision or like
felt into that decision. We intellectualize everything. There's so little feeling when it comes to our decision making, right?
And so yeah, totally. Like, and that like or like that. I mean, we had done that grounding exercise before this. You know, like
secret. We did.
Pull that curtain back. But like if I actually did that, it would be so uncomfortable. I guess maybe not. I don't know. Like, to avoid discomfort, I will disconnect. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, and I know that. So like,
I think that's very true for many people. For probably everybody. Yeah, because we want to avoid like discomfort, pain.
Absolutely.
Your body also automatically makes these decisions to avoid these things. Like it's not even conscious a lot of the time.
And even if I do go through with that, you know, that decision, like, you know, like it's not, it comes with like something that is a reality to me, which is sensation, which is pain, which is discomfort. And then like how often in our lives do we practice that? Like, I mean, like I'm an Aikido fan.
Yes.
Mostly because I can practice like violence or discomfort or disagreement or just an encounter with two different approaches. And you have to somehow avoid or deflect or use another way to like just survive basically or be heard. Yeah. So like I just like there are ways to practice this kind of thing, but like I mean, and you know, like hopefully, like those things kind of like circle out. I know it's made a big change in my life and my body, but like
they ripple out, right?
That's the hope.
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, as we alluded to earlier, like artists were very good at reading rooms, and there's a reason for that. It's because like most of our communication, I forget what the percentage exactly is, but like I think it's like 80% of our communication is not verbal.
Sick.
Right? It's like we're picking up on things that are invisible all the time. Like, yes, we pick up subtle cues of like body movement, eye movement, tone of voice, all those things, breathing, you know, it can be super subtle, but there's an energetic, like when someone walks into a room of artists, let's say, and let's say they just were like crying for an hour in the bathroom and they come into the space, people will pick up on that. Because I think artists, we're more practiced at connecting to our bodies and being less afraid of our emotions and all that stuff. We've been sort of conditioned to have that kind of softness and receptivity to other bodies. Whereas I think for a lot of other folks that maybe don't have that kind of relationship to their bodies yet, it has to be cultivated. It really does. If you're not raised around like a culture that does that, that will sense maybe a difference in energy, but they won't. They'll be reactive more than responsive in nature, right? Because it's something unconscious is at play, ruling my reaction to the thing, right?
Well, I'm artists. And I don't think like because this is this is the thing, like all that kind of intelligence, basically, all of those like, you know, whatever antennas and hairs that go up in order to do that is cultivated through like collaborative, like, and like something that moves toward a performance.
Yes. Community, connection.
Oh my gosh. I don't think that everybody, you know, like not everybody has to be an actor.
Right.
Not everybody has to go to, for me, like I don't think
everyone should take an improv class at least once in their life.
I think everyone should do childcare for 2 years.
That too! That's true!
I feel like people...
You learn so much. Everyone should be like a server, work in retail, work in childcare, and have to take an improv class.
This is Project 2025.
This is our Project
2025. Is that?
I love that. I'll write a 900-page document about those policies. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I think like, well, and that like, you know, like I don't think that everybody has to, you know, practice Aikido or do yoga. I don't like, and I think like the body for me is a big gateway, but it's not, you know, it's not everything. I know people have, you know, like you love to crochet, please crochet. Like this is your gateway.
But that's your body.
Yes.
I guess body.
I guess, and that, but I also just like am in this like, gosh, you're like you taking it back is really like kind of a kick in the ass because I just know that like the body will fail me. Yeah. Like I'm also in a place where it's like the thing that I'm asking it to do, it will fail me. But like but that thing of like, wow, it's doing things that I never thought I could do is kind of the.
I love that as a mantra. Like I love that just remembering that message that came to you is such a powerful message, right?
Oh my gosh.
I have to imagine that was like a game changer.
Well, and now I'm just realizing how far it's taken me. Coming out of school, all I wanted was to fill my calendar with rehearsals. Like, just I'm doing this. I know what's coming up. I'm doing this. I'm working. I've got to go to rehearsal. I'm so sorry. I can't make it. I've got rehearsals.
It's hell week. I gotta go. I can't go out. It's tech week. Yeah. Oh, I know it so well.
So it was simpler times.
In many ways. So you were just like, you came out of school, you were creating things, you were in rehearsal rooms.
Totally.
When did you get into Aikido?
My ex at the time was, this is so dumb. I
can't wait.
Like, he was like, well, I'm doing this martial art. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess this can be like our softball, you know, like this is like our weekend like
the thing you do together?
Yes.
Cute, I love that.
I thought it was going to be a thing that we do together.
Yeah.
And then I think I liked it more than he did. He left, we broke up, and I just kept doing it. So it's like definitely, you know, like I got the better part of the divorce. So you know,
you got to keep that. That's pretty great.
I got the dojo. But like honestly, like it's so great.
Tell me about what was the experience? Take me through maybe your first experience with it and how you were feeling.
I cried.
Tell me more. What happened?
So like, okay, so part of it is, you know, like one, you don't know shit. Like you're out here in your mind, like maybe I'm fighting bad guys. I don't know. But like, it's really hard I think to feel pressure in a way that I'm not used to. It's really hard to say, strike me. Yeah. Strike me as honestly as you can. The mark is here. Strike me here. And like I you know, like I can't even have a conversation directly.
You're doing great.
You know, like
this is a lovely conversation, so I'm gonna dispel that right away.
Like it's not, but like like you can't even like sometimes you can't even tell someone the truth. Yeah. Much less say, strike me.
Hit my face.
Yeah. Hit my face.
Yeah, oh my God.
Because that's your job to move, to get away from that attack.
Deflect it?
Yes. That's your job. And I'm not going to do my job if you're not going to do your job. And you know, like if we're talking about like, you know, like purpose or dharma, like that, you know, like I have to do my job. And so I think maybe this must have been like the second class. Your job is to choke me. And so I'm like, Oh my God. So like that's really, and that's really intense. Like I'm, you know, like, and that
the throat chakra too, like a communication play, like that brought up a lot of shit. Yeah.
For like what was I in like my mid-20s?
Oh my God.
Like
as
somebody who's like vulnerable in the world and just wants to like get paid to like dance.
It's legit. Yes.
So like that's really freaky and frightening, but I also couldn't get away from it. Like do you ever like it's a rumination, like suddenly this like question, there's no logic to it. There's just this like thing that like you cannot explain your way out of. It is something that feels like I was haunted by this experience in a really generative way. Like obviously I'm you know, like, was I harmed? No, I want to come back. Am I angry? Yes. Okay. But not at that, you know, like all of these things that come up where you're like, okay, so who's the perpetrator? Who's the bad guy here? Maybe that's not, you know, and that suddenly was not a really helpful question.
Yeah. It's
like, well, then how it's like suddenly comes to something where like, how can I come back? Like, so who am I now? And that I'm watching, you know, like I feel fortunate enough to have been around that I watch other people now going through this kind of process.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, for me, the desire to be like, I wish someone told me, or I wish I was better prepared, or I wish I was something like, I wish like it came in like grades or something like that. I think that was a defensive. I felt very like, and if I can think about how my posture was when I would think that, it was pretty defensive.
Yeah.
Because there's no way I could have been prepared.
Yeah.
There is no way.
Yeah.
There's no way like life will prepare you for the thing that will knock you on your ass.
Right.
So I feel grateful for that reminder. And now just watching this like new cohort or generation of like young akidoka, beautiful people. Like I'm not a very good like mentor or help in that. I hope to be one day, but like I just watch them kind of like have the same questions, and
going through a similar process you went through, it sounds like. Yeah.
I love it.
And it sounds super empowering again. Like it brings me back to like, you know, when you tell somebody and you take the ownership of, okay, strike me, and I'm going to trust that I am able to deflect or do what I have to do.
Totally.
To continue, right? Because it takes away that sort of putting everything on the other person, right? It's like literally embodying the fact that it's always a two-way street. There's always some kind of exchange happening, right?
Well, and that, like, I think about how cleanly I can interact with somebody sometimes. As in, like, what kind of residue am I leaving or giving out to that person that's like, no, that's my sister. I'm thinking of my sister. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, and that, like, there's already, or like, oh shoot, like that was actually because like I didn't have enough for groceries that one day. Like this like feeling where it's like, but how like, can I digest a person so like comprehensively that like it can come out? Okay, so like I love worms.
Oh, you do love worms. Worms are great. Magical beings.
They're my astrology. Everyone needs one. But like the idea of like that kind of I don't know, I love my worm bin. I love like getting my hands filthy because I'm like, look at this productive shit. Like it's so fully digested that it is helpful to something else. It is helpful for the growth of like another like thing. Like I and that feels I don't know. I think that's related to that kind of encounter. Like an encounter, it doesn't have to be right or wrong or anything, but two forces are attempting harmony even in
Conflict.
exactly. And and then part of that is like really just being able as much as possible to like have a full I don't know what to call it. Like digest them fully.
The other person.
Yeah.
I love that as an image. Like to digest another person. To me, that's like taking someone in completely. It's also reminding me, it's bringing back this like, I think of mushrooms in this way, right? Like mushrooms are so magical because it's like, yeah, this is shit. Like literally but through that, it reminds me of little lilies, right? That grow through the mud.
Oh, lotus, not lilies.
Lotuses that grow through the mud. And like, that's how actually, that's the there's a cyclical process that's beautiful. And I think we ignore the stuff that we like, don't want to see, the like more shadowy things, the things we understand less, like shit, or we don't want to be around, right? But that's like what life is all about. That's the source of life.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, metabolizing.
Yeah.
I get it. Like you have, like, I'm like, oh, this is what a metabolism is for. I'm not even trying to optimize it.
Yeah.
Like this is what it's for. It's so that you can like, I'm just doing this thing.
I love it. It's a really good, there's a name for this when you do shapes and, like viewpoints, architecture. You like take on a repeated gesture, right?
Ooh.
Gesture work. That's what it is, gesture work in theater. I love that.
Performers, actors,
performers, gesture work. Great. I want to make sure also that we talk about yoga because come on, we're there, we're right there. So when did you start getting into yoga? How did that happen?
It's just, did you ever go, maybe, content transparency.
Yeah.
Yoga to the people.
Yes, I did. Because I was in New York from like 2006, 2009, had no money.
Yes.
And
Come on.
went
That's
to
how
yoga
they
to the people.
get you. Yeah. So that was, I mean, like
donation based? Come on.
It's
right there.
Right. I'm hooked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hooked and I'm cooked.
You got me. Oh, that's what yoga should be.
Yes, exactly. So I think that like that predatory model, no, just kidding.
I mean, it did. A lot of came out about yoga to the people, man.
I think, so like I was doing, I was doing yoga throughout college.
NYU.
Yeah, throughout NYU.
While you were recovering too.
While I was recovering and then like toward the end especially, I think it was like, because it's such a helpful, it's such a helpful assessment.
Oh, totally.
You're just like kind of assessing yourself.
Every
I can
day.
do this. I can't do this. I can do this. Today it feels like this. Today it feels like that. So like, it's like, I'm so into this model of things that you like just kind of fill like the container of a posture. Great. This is what it's like today. Okay, great. So that was really helpful to me. Yeah. I was doing that, in college and then outside of college. And then the sweetest home studio, Jaya Yoga Center. It's very sweet.
Yeah. I've seen them.
I did my 200, my 300 there. Like very, like I'm very fortunate that once has survived, but also like like
I didn't realize it's been around that long. That's amazing.
Since like 2001.
Hell yeah. That's great.
Yeah. And so I did that, and then
what made you want to go to training, and when did you go to training?
I went to 2017, I think.
So so this is after your martial arts has started and you've been doing yoga. I'm just bringing us Yes.
Well, and
here we come.
The convergence is
that's real.
is happening.
Yeah.
So like I was doing yoga while I was doing aikido.
Everything.
So like
puppetry and
and dancing. Hell week.
Theater, So all of this is working in tandem. And did you find that they were all kind of, I mean, I'm just gonna project onto you. Were they all in tandem working together, or were there certain things that were like in conflict at all with each other in a variety of movies. I'm just curious, like, was there anything that was like this, or was it?
Well, I think it was like, I think this was more than this. So conflict was more than ease.
Thank you.
But
Thank
also
you.
sometimes it feels like, I mean, this is like a gambling addiction.
Yeah.
When this happened, you're like, oh yeah,
Oh boy, yeah.
I can do everything. Because like there are mornings, I do remember there was like a day or like 12 where you're like, sometimes you wake up, you catch like an early Aikido class, you go to work, and then you go to yoga to warm up for the show that night. You know, something like that. Like there was something where you're like, okay, like sometimes it all helped. And then it was like maybe the best show you've ever done in your life. You know, you're like, wow, I really was able to lift that person. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so like that is, and that's a high, and I don't ever recommend doing that or making that a regular thing. But like I was doing things I didn't know I could do.
Yes.
So it was, and then it was really helpful. So again, like I'm all of these lessons that became formalized in training, like you're like, oh, so that's what proprioception is.
Like I've been doing that. Oh, now I understand the name. Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Like it named a lot of things that I felt very that I didn't know I could do. Where you're like, wow, hamstrings.
It's like, oh, I know the fancy words now. I mean, but truly, like having a vocabulary for this stuff, it frees up a lot.
Naming things makes it real.
Oh my God,
totally. If you have a child and it doesn't have a name,
it's not real. It's a fake baby.
What's this baby doing?
That's a great point. I love that. Yeah.
How do you let this thing run around?
Yeah. So you gotta name it.
So that was like, 2017 was, I think, where like a lot of it was really, 2016 I think was 200, 2017 was 300, and then I was just kind of, and then I had been starting to teach around there, and then I was like, I was still performing.
Yeah.
But I think I was like, oh wow, this feels really good to me, as in like I do love learning and teaching.
Yeah.
My simple life.
Yeah.
My most
Tell me.
simple life.
What's your most simple life? I love a simple life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. If I could, I would train. I would just like train and learn
forever.
Do shows here and there. And if somebody was like, wait, you specialize in this, then I would teach a workshop.
Yes.
Or whatever. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That is the most simple life I can think of.
Yeah. And connected life too. Like it sounds very aligned with what you're interested in, what you want to do, right?
Oh my gosh, maybe snorkel here and there, but like
please, must snorkel. Maybe kayak.
Oh,
get out there, nature. Add some nature in.
Kayak. I'm so pro kayak.
I'm good. I'm glad we are aligned on that. That's important.
Oh, I went to Pratt for dance movement therapy. So I went to Pratt Institute for dance movement therapy. Very cool. I love it. I just totally same as you. Like I need, it's really important to like legitimize this thing that is already fantastic. I don't know. No, legitimize is not the word.
I
but
know
like,
what you mean. Yeah.
Do you know like accountability? That's what it is. Like
Yeah.
accountability and guidance. That's it.
Yeah.
Like we're like there are people out there who are doing incredible things that I don't think you need this degree for necessarily.
Right.
I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
So I was going through school. So I was in grad school.
During the pandemic.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
During the panini. And I was even in grad school during Life of Pi. So I was writing my thesis while I was like
performing 8 shows a week, rehearsing during the day. How did you have time to be in grad school during that?
Okay, there's this and there's this. And then sometimes this pays off. Like if you just have one of these days, you suddenly think, I am doing the easy thing. If you have an easy day, you suddenly think you can do anything.
Totally.
Like suddenly you're like, wow, so like I can write in the morning and then I can just like catch that like weight class and then go to the show. Like it's
so
suddenly
like
well, and that I think energy begets
right. I was going to say it's like regenerative.
Oh my gosh. like if, you know, and then also like you like knock out for a weekend. But like
right. That's the thing. Everything, it's like a balancing act. And I think because I was working like 100 hours a week at one point for many years, actually.
Yes.
And I would get burned out and I would get sick all the time. And then I'd be out longer. The harder and more hours I would work, I would then have to be out and sicker longer. And so figuring out like what the balance looks like to you and your own specific body is such a key thing.
Well, and now that we are in something that requires our presence and energy, it is unethical to practice if you are not well. Boom.
100%.
Like, I get it. Like,
100%.
and so I felt like this was a really great learning opportunity for me to be like, listen, this I can do. And if I can't do it, then it's like really dangerous to practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that is like, I just like, I stand by that. And I think it's like a longevity thing.
Totally.
It's just a long game.
Yeah.
You know, like I love, and I hope I can continue to do this, but like that has to be built in.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Because when I think of the consequences for myself, or like now there are consequences.
There are. Yeah, there totally are. And that makes sense, right? Like, and our bodies are always going to change. And like you alluded to earlier, like our bodies will fail us.
Oh my gosh.
They will.
They will.
And that's a part of just this human life, this human experience that we're here to have, right?
Totally.
And I think like as soon as I felt more connected and was actually listening to my body and what it needed, then all of that was possible. There was like a period of time where it wasn't even possible for me to make a healthy decision because I wasn't connected to my body to know what it needed actually, right? There's so much in this society that's like, push through the pain. We talk about this with Simone Biles and like her dropping out of the Tokyo Olympics, right? Because of her mental health, getting the twisties, like literally she could snap her neck, right? Like you can't perform. It is not ethical to do that. And she caught so much flack and drama for it, but it just goes to prove, like now we're watching the Olympics now and she's just bigger and stronger and more amazing than ever. And it's like, and she's such an advocate for mental health and how important it's like, it's just becoming so much more obvious across cultures and societies how there is no separation between these things, like that our mental health is our body health, is our nutritional health, is our spiritual health.
Totally.
It's all
financial
attached.
Health is health.
100%. It's survival. We need to, if you're in survival mode, you're probably not going to be connected to your body that well. Yeah. Like it's kind of, I learned this in school that it was like, if your body is in survival mode, it is actually impossible for you to feel grateful. You have to feel safe to feel gratitude. So when we shame people for saying, oh, well, you're not grateful for what you have, you're not seeing what you have, it's doing like the opposite thing. Like quite literally that person in their life and their central nervous system is unable to. And that doesn't no one's wrong for that.
Right.
That's a failure on society's part.
Totally.
Right? Yeah.
You just can't learn how to swim while you're drowning.
Yes. Yes. Give that person some floaties, a kickboard, something. Yeah.
No, I like that is just like, that has to be laid out.
Yeah. I'm so glad that people have you have these students and you've done all of this incredible experience, life experience, but also work, and you continue to study, and I think we align on this, but I feel very connected to you as far as like lifelong learners.
Oh my!
I'll be learning for friggin' ever. I'll be in class. I'll be taking classes forever.
I'm learning right now.
What are you learning
from you?
Today. Same. That's literally why I have this podcast.
It's like Kegels. I'm learning right now.
Right now. Here we go. Yeah. I'm doing it.
What is this thing? What is it called? The jaw thing?
What's the jaw thing?
People are doing the jaw thing. What is it when you do your jaw? It's named after that person who's doing like jaw stuff.
Is it
I feel like mewing.
I don't know what this is. Teach me.
Oh my gosh! Maybe
Wait.
it's the young people. It's
I was
the
going
young
to say,
people.
like, maybe this is a Gen Z
like
thing.
it's like a thing. It's an extra. I don't know it. We have to look it up.
Okay.
But it's like a thing that you do, like just to like strengthen your jaw and like definition. It's mewing, but like it's like
Can
I
you
think
do
the
it?
new Kegels.
Can you show me?
I have no idea. I think the face that they do is this.
I've been seeing a lot of face yoga around. This reminds me a little bit of face yoga.
I feel like face yoga has way more experience than mewing.
I bet mewing's probably been lifted and appropriated from yoga like every fucking thing else has.
Exactly.
Yoga's known this shit for thousands of years, you guys. But yeah. I see, and I'm like, how do you have control over those muscles? It's amazing. I gotta get into it. One last thing I want to touch on, because you mentioned this earlier, and we maybe alluded to a little bit. I'm probably just assuming this, so just tell me to shut up. But high school, Filipino.
Oh yes,
brown woman.
Oh my gosh,
coming of age. Like,
yes.
Was that sort of what you were alluding to earlier? Do you want to touch on that at all?
Let's see. Yes, I mean I think that is where I felt different.
Yeah.
Like high school is where like you learn when you are different or not.
Right.
Like whenever you are like in a situation where there's like some shared culture that you're into or not.
Yeah.
And I think that was really becoming apparent, or like that is something that I mean, right now I love being Filipino because of these gold medals. Because I was like, and I got to vacation there for a long time.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
Oh my gosh. I really, and like, it's like great to connect to a place where your body reacts different. Like I'm a leaky person. Like I'm constantly like oozing out my eyes or like snotting out my nose, like drooling in my face. And that like my partner said this, he was like, you're not like, your nose isn't running right now. And, like, it doesn't mean anything except for that, like, I belong here.
I mean,
like,
I think that means, that actually does mean a lot. Like, that's kind of amazing.
It's very sweet. Like,
Yeah.
you take whatever signals, I took whatever signals I could get to be like, this is, like, I'm supposed to be here right now. And so, like, and that is a really, I never want that feeling to go away. Because living in New York. Like you get signals sometimes where you're like, I'm not supposed to be on the subway right now.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be in line right now. Yeah. So like, I think that that growing up, like sometimes those signals start happening, whatever, at some age where, you're like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. Right. And I think, and realizing that might be connected with your home culture, with, like your appearance or whatever, like you're wearing, that's really, that starts, I don't know, maybe like I was conscious of it maybe in like my high school years, but that starts, like that starts when it starts. That's early, that's young. Like when I was teaching preschool, and I was a preschool teacher for like 10 years.
I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh. It is like a secret power of mine. It is like...
I bet it is. I could totally see you just being an incredible preschool teacher.
I loved it. I mean, talk about reparative.
Yeah.
But then I remember like, I remember a family coming in, or a kid like in summer camp, like, and this is, like Lincoln Road is right over there, and you know how they sell waters?
Yeah.
They were role playing dollar waters, and I was like, ooh, what are you playing? Why are you selling water? And some kid was like, 'cause I'm poor. You know what I mean? Like those signals come early, they happen, and we don't even realize it. So, and so like I guess what I mean, talk about climbing back. Like, I've been climbing back from that, like we are all trying to just like outlive our enemies. Or like,
coming home to ourselves. Yeah. That just popped in my head. Like there was this, when you were talking about being in the Philippines, like I'm supposed to be here. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking about New York in these moments where you're like, I'm not supposed to be here. I think the core of that is the sense of belonging, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that I'm
yeah.
okay to exist here.
Because there are places where you're like, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah. And
That-
how do you think, I mean, you just got back, so how do you envision or imagine you'll stay connected to it? Or maybe it's something that can never be shaken again. I don't know, but how do you look at that as you're back and getting back into New York life?
Okay, this is an important question.
Yeah.
Because it's like you don't want, like the water, the cup is full, and then suddenly suddenly the water starts spilling out everywhere. For a while, I was able to go back every year. Like before the panini, I was like every year, every other year.
Wow.
I think I could do it.
Yeah.
And then I just got back. I was just able to visit after like 4 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
So I think if I can just imagine, or if I can work toward going back, I think that helps me keep the connection. That is a hope of mine. But also, like, there are places in my life that help me think of home.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to just cover my home in as many found seashells and coral pieces as I can.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. This was truly like what a delight, and I'm so excited to see what you're doing next. Do you want to share with our listeners and viewers, how can they find you? What is coming up for you? What are you excited about?
Great. Instagram at Nikki Calonge. That's NIKKICALONGE, Calonge. And I will be puppeteering in See What I Want to See, which is like, it's an all Asian American cast, maybe even all Asian.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a remount of a musical that happened years ago. Please come see it. Team looks incredible. Puppets look beautiful.
Where is that?
That is at Theater 154 in the West Village. That happens in September. Coming to September. I will harass and blast.
Great.
And yeah, school year's coming up, so watch out, students. I have a newsletter. You can find it all on my Instagram. I'm around.
Yay! Thank you so much for being here, Nikki.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure.
A delight.